Hell yeah.
Welcome to the Fine Print, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Caleb Teskey, and today, joining us again, it's Nick Smith from Emerald Visions in Alberg. Nick, thank you so much, dude.
Thanks, Caleb.
Wow, what the fuck? Is that me?
No, I mean, my name's Caleb Teskey. I'll be interviewing you, Nick Smith, with the Fine
Wow.
Print. So, can you give me a quick 5 minutes about yourself?
Wow.
Your life story?
Am I Nick Smith now?
Yeah, you're Nick Smith.
Wow. Well, boy, I'm great. I'm a great guy. I'm really into psychedelic art and killer herb. It looks like maybe I just did my first harvest up here with my mom and dad. And man, you fucked me up here. Things are going well.
Fun for you.
Yeah. Take that off. You fucked me. Wow. What the fuck?
Here, we could do an interview with the greatest guy in cannabis in Vermont.
Is that Shane Lynn?
It may be, yeah, I thought it'd be a scary Halloween costume. Okay, sorry, I'll stop joking.
That was amazing. How's things going, man?
Everything's going great. My trim team's hard at work with the first crop.
Your trimming team? Who's your trimming team, buddy?
My trimming team consists of my mom and dad and my wife. And then, so I like to help out with like kind of cleaning all of the jars before the cannabis goes into the jars. And then, I don't know, kind of bucking off the branches. Then they handle all the trimming. So yeah, everything's going good.
Now you've run them through the whole employee ID card process and everything?
Yeah, they both, or my wife and I are both co-owners of the business. So we got one just with starting the business. And then my parents both got their ID cards.
Cool. Now, did they have to go through the whole background check process as well, I assume?
Yeah, right now I'm just waiting on the fingerprint meetings. They have their temporary work permits right now.
Well, that was lovely to see, man. I love to see that picture of your dad and your mom in your room with the giant branches of herb hanging down.
Yeah, they love it.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, they're definitely proud of what we've done here.
I see that, and that must just be great. I mean, I recall from our last meeting, you said that you started growing weed in high school. They said if you got your grades up, maybe you could grow some weed or something. And now, you got your own business.
Yeah, definitely. It's all come full circle. And yeah, I was growing out in the woods back then. So I started out outdoor growing and then switched over to indoor growing.
Now, I got to say, man, the indoor, the pictures that I've seen, it sure looks like some of the nicest looking indoor that I've seen so far.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We're trying to go for a high-end product and I'll try to do as good as we can every crop. So next crop will be better, as will the one after that.
And now I see, I think I just saw this on your Instagram, and it looks like you finally have done your first harvest and flipped your room and started over.
Yeah. We were able to flip the room in just 48 hours with all the cleaning and sanitizing. We cleaned all of the irrigation lines, bombed the room with a chlorine gas just to get to a blank slate, and yeah, scrubbed everything down. Everything's totally clean in there.
Chlorine gas, huh?
Yep, chlorine gas. It's a product called Garden Clean that we use.
What do you use, like a smoke machine and fumigate it or something?
No, it's kind of a chemical mix where it comes in a little jar that you add water to it, and it has a pouch, and then it starts creating the chemical reaction. So yeah, then you keep the room filled with that chlorine gas for 24 hours, then you just vent it out, and it kills. You don't want to be in there during that, but yeah.
Yeah, I bet not.
Yeah, it's just a good way of ensuring that you have a fresh start and there's no kind of pathogens or anything.
Cool. I never knew that.
Yeah.
I've learned so much lately. I feel like I've spent about 3 weeks on the phone with you.
Nice.
I wanted to ask you about, this was something we talked about, was about your packaging and your labeling, because you beefed up your logo a little bit, and I was questionable because I really liked your first one. And I'm going to say this right now, word up to Will at Canada Planners. I gave him a little shit at first because when you showed me his prices, I thought it was high. But then when I saw what you showed me, boy, he did a beautiful job.
Yeah, I think the Canna Planners, they exceeded my expectations a lot. We went in there agreeing that, I mean, we thought we had a good logo, but they just made it that much better. So we just got these back from them. These are going to be the stickers for our jars.
Oh, sick. That looks killer, dude.
Yeah, it's kind of, oh, thank you.
Nice. And it looks like you had a few different colors. Was that for like different size jars? Okay, cool. Wow,
Yeah,
look at
that
that.
color too. And then
Damn.
this one's my favorite right here, the gold color.
Sick.
Ooh, sorry, it's hard with this tablet.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
beautiful,
they helped us with compliance and everything. Just kind of took we already had so much stuff to worry about that it was nice just to have Canna Planners take over our labeling and just making sure it's all up to compliance with the warning labels and everything.
And they do all the pre-rolls. Are you doing any pre-rolls? I know there's like different sizes and you have to fit all those warnings on there.
We will be doing pre-rolls eventually, just not this crop because we went pretty heavy on the lowers. So there's all the buds they belong in jars.
I was gonna say your blowers look like they were massive.
Yeah, the smallest buds were like the size of a golf ball. Yeah,
awesome.
But in the future, we want to do individual pre-roll joints and also packages or like variety packs of pre-rolls.
Oh, okay. Word. Yeah, I've seen a couple.
We'll be working with Canna Planners for that packaging as well. They're really good people. They're very communicative and unlike the CCB, just had to throw. Yeah, but see, the Canna Planners, they every day they'll send us an update, and it's great.
Every day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, every day while there was the process running, we're done with the jars now, so we're done with the updates. We're just waiting on Clove or Creative Labeling of Vermont to send us our labels, and we'll slap them on the jars and get them ready to go to dispensaries for early November. And also, we just brought our samples into the Biodiagnostics to get tested a couple days ago. So there's a 10-day lead time, business days. So we have a few things we're waiting on, but hopefully we get stuff out there early November.
Now, I don't know if this is anything you'd care to share, but where might people look for your products coming up here?
Oh, yeah. Here, let me get, I'll pull up a quick little list for me so I don't leave people out. We have on top of this list, there's other retailers that we're in the works dealing with, almost finalized, but it looks like Cambridge Cannabis Company, Winooski Organics, Whale County Cannabis, Green Man, Greenleaf Central, Emerald Rose Grows, Capital Cannabis Company, who just came out here yesterday.
Oh, Lauren, yeah.
They're really awesome. Somewhere on the Mountain and Juniper Lane.
Wow.
And then, I don't want to say the ones that are kind of in the process because if they fall through, then I don't want people to think they can go there.
Now you're putting this on. Aren't you putting this on your website, like a little interactive map, or sort of like so people can find where you're at?
Yeah, there will be a store locator there that shows the map, and once it's all up and running 100%, if you click on the map of the logo for the different dispensaries, they'll come up with their website. That's what my wife's working on that now.
That's awesome. Oh,
That's
nice.
what the store locator will look like.
Cool.
There'll hopefully be more on there. I don't know, we've been reached out to by more retailers than this, but some of them wanted, just like what they wanted and what we want didn't completely align. Like there's a few that wanted bulk flower and not to buy it with our packaging. They just wanted to buy it white labeled and then at a like really cheap price and then slap their logo on it.
You don't want people white labeling your shit.
No, we don't have any interest in that. So, I mean, a couple of retailers, the conversation went cold at that point, but that's fine. I wish them the best, but it's just we don't align with that kind of business model.
Well, then, the weed I saw from you, I'd want my name on that too.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my buddy has been a big part of that, who got me the genetics. My friend Jim with East Coast Affiliates, just wanted to give him a shout out on here because I don't think I do enough, but he's been
send him over.
Yeah, Jim's the man.
You never even mentioned him. We've been talking since January.
I think that you follow him on Instagram, but
oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, then we had a couple of retailers that just didn't quite go that great. Like one of them, not going to mention name, they just sent us an email with a letter of interest for us to fill out saying if we wanted to sell to them, and we just kind of feel that in this market, and I don't know, with how much hard work we put in, that the least they can do is just reach out with a phone call or an actual personal email, not just a letter of interest or an email. And so we didn't even go through with that email. We started and we're like, what are we even doing here? We're not desperate. Like, let them call us like everyone else. Like all these people, all the retailers I listed have been very personable and just great people, knowledgeable. Like they actually expressed interest, not just dollar signs like that one retailer.
Hmm. And I feel like you said someone else like sent you like a packet of paperwork or something to fill out. Like,
Yeah, that was that retailer.
oh, and you
Yeah.
know, boy, yeah, that seemed a little odd to me. You know, like, here you've done all this work to grow this weed. Now fill out a bunch of paperwork, and we'll tell you if we want to work with you.
Yeah, yeah. The questions were like, they really just, other than just asking us in person, I think they just were, I don't know, they sent a mass email to all cultivators, it seemed. And other than just being personable with them, it just went right down the list of everything all these conversations with other retailers asked me in person. But I don't know, it just seemed kind of lazy.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, and you know, I think, you know, as someone who's a bartender for a lot of years, I think there's something definitely to be said for like that person to person interaction, you know, that can definitely help a lot of things along.
Yeah, definitely. Any meeting with any retailers we've had, hasn't been one way. I mean, at the same time as they're choosing whether to carry our product, we're choosing whether we want our product on their shelves too, so
Sure.
that the packet of paperwork individual didn't pass the sniff test.
Hmm. Okay. Fair enough. And now, have you been driving around and visiting these potential locations?
Yeah, we've done a little of both. We've had another one that I think that Vermont Prohibition may be wanting to carry our products, but they're not going to be ready until December. Yeah, they just came for a visit with us, and yeah, the Capital Cannabis Company. Then we visited just one other retailer. I went to the Green Man the other day on their grand opening, but
Oh, you
it's
went
been
to
so
St. J?
busy with, yeah, it's been busy with harvest and trimming and just everything involved in running a business. So I haven't really been able to get out there too much.
Yeah, and you're about as far, oh, like you're just way up in the fucking corner there. Like, there's
Yeah,
not a lot out there in Albert. You got to drive to get to anything.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're very secluded up here, and barely in the islands.
Yeah, I was gonna say, geez, like Juniper Lane, that's about as far away as you could drive in Vermont from where you are.
Yeah, and their one retailer will be partnering with, but we really like the owners of Juniper Lane, so we'll make it work.
Hmm. Yeah, I was just talking to her the other day. I'm hoping to get her on here soon.
Nice.
You know, one of the other things I wanted to ask you about was this 7 days issue that just came out. They did a full cannabis issue, and as I was rifling through the story, I don't 7 days, so I can't read the whole thing, you know. But
Yeah,
as I'm going through there, I found a story where you were commenting on some of the packaging, and
yeah.
yeah, I'll let you talk about that because I really enjoyed your
Actually,
comments in there.
if it wasn't for a conversation I had with you, I probably would have never gotten the numbers that I gave to them. So you and I were talking one day about packaging, and it led for us telling you just how much bubble wrap there was, and then a box within a box with more bubble wrap for these jars. So you and I were talking. We're like, I bet you there's actually like more plastic just protecting the glass jars than there is that same amount of 1 ounce mylar bags. So I went ahead and I told you that I was gonna weigh it and just to figure it out. And I remember, what was it, like 215 grams was the weight of the mylar bags for 40 of them, and it was 250 something grams for just the bubble wrap for the jars.
Hmm.
So, and that doesn't
And
count the cardboard boxes and anything else or the shipping, like all that petroleum or all the gas it takes to ship a big box versus just like a little packet of mylar bags.
right, and that was a point that was raised to me by Devin from Tall Truck, which I thought was I hadn't even really considered back when I talked to him. But after that, like my gears started turning, and like, boy, like when you do the cost benefit analysis, it does start to kind of balance out when you consider all of the factors.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to talk like a carbon emissions per package analysis, then I almost would say that the mylar bags may be one of the best options because of how little gas it takes and how little space it takes up in a 18 wheeler or a cargo ship. Yeah, I just am right now. I'm supposed to be getting a pallet of 8th jars in the mail today from UPS,
Really?
and it's an entire pallet, $5,000 worth, and I'm just expecting at least probably 50 to 100 of them broken, and then it's just going to be a nightmare to go through all of that, and it takes up so much room. It's a massive pallet.
Yeah, and that was certainly one of the issues, like, a jar versus, like you could take an ounce flour jar and probably stuff 1,000 Mylar bags in there,
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And
on just one bookcase, I could probably fit, I don't know, 20,000 Mylar bags, but these boxes of these jars are going to be lining my hallway at my facility.
Mm.
I still haven't even figured out where I'm going to put it yet, and that's just for one crop.
And do you I assume you get a discount maybe if you buy in bulk for packaging?
There's the companies that we go through, there really isn't much of a discount after you reach the 200 jar mark. So if you were to buy like one jar, it's like $3 or $5. But if you buy 200 or more, it's about $1 per jar. And then it's kind of capped out at that. Like if I buy, I don't know, I haven't tried to ask them if I buy 10,000 jars, if there's a discount, but.
And I know the state was talking about initially, I haven't heard about this for a while, but they were talking about doing some kind of collection program where you could drop off your old jars and have them clean and then they could be recycled. But what about something where like I just bring the jar back and you fill it up again?
Yeah, I'd like that. That'd be pretty neat. Just like the growler system for the beer industry, that
Right.
would probably be the most environmentally friendly.
Sure. And like, I guess the issue with that is maybe it wouldn't have the tamper-proof seal or something, but like you could put another one on, I guess.
You just add another. It's just a small piece of tape, a tamper-proof seal that, by definition, well, actually, you wouldn't even really need it as much as you would in a normal situation where I'm pre-packaging the flour and getting it to retailers. The tamper-proof seal is mainly to prove to the customer, to the consumer, that that package hasn't been opened since it left the hand of the cultivator or the manufacturer.
Right. So if you're bringing it back yourself, that kind of eliminates that concern.
Yeah, I can say that it would definitely have to have the warning label at least. So if someone brought in their own like Sea Vault container, which would be very good choice because you can put like a moisture pack, a humidor pack in there, and it's stainless steel, great for just long-term storage of cannabis. That would be like the ideal situation where you buy it once from a retailer and then you just, every time that you refill it, they slap the new cultivar sticker on there with the potency testing. And then same with pre-rolls. Like if you just had the loosies, like a big jar of pre-rolls, then you bring in your own container for them to go in.
Yeah, or why not? Why couldn't you just hand me a joint and I could leave the store with it? What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the legislature probably is the reason for that.
I feel like after all this talk about environmental concerns, and those concerns are super legitimate for sure. This industry creates a lot of packaging. And the indoor grows can have some runoff or whatever, but like I feel like really, I don't know. I felt like kind of some of that was like hollow, just like empty talk when you look at how this is actually going to play out, how much of an impact has it really made? Have we really helped anything,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I went to college for environmental science, so I'm not a naysayer about climate change or the impacts of fossil fuels or petroleum products. Yeah, I mean, there's some things that are put in place as feel good statements, feel good policies, and this kind of seems as though it might be one of them, where they're doing it for the image of looking clean and not having one-time use plastics, when meanwhile you can go to Costco and buy cases of plastic bottled water and then go to any gas station and look in their refrigerator aisle, it's all plastic. So it's kind of funny that we've targeted the cannabis industry as the one industry that needs to be held to a higher standard.
It does seem that way, and after some of the talks I've had with people, I definitely find myself in the grocery store just walking down the aisles like plastic.
Yeah. And,
hey, Ashley.
Oh, Ashley, come on, say hi.
What's up, Ashley?
Did it yourself.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Ashley, come onto the screen a little bit.
No, I don't want to.
Okay.
I'm busy trimming.
Oh, awesome.
But I overheard what you guys were talking about, and I wanted to say, like, not to mention that they're not really enforcing the no plastic thing.
Well, there
were some pre-roll tubes that were plastic, and but other than that, I think that everything that I've seen has been compliant. I believe
You know what?
that those were supposedly what, like recycled, or no, I don't know, like cellulose plastic maybe.
And I have heard from someone else about this since then, and it does seem like they are working on some new materials that are. The deal is they're supposed to compost in like 200 days or something.
Bye, Ashley.
Bye.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's some products that I really like, and I'm not trying to say anything bad about the person that chose the plastic doob tubes. One of my favorites is a J-Pack case. It's like recycled ocean plastic. It's a multi-pack for pre-rolls, and I mean, the North Pacific Gyre out in the Pacific Ocean is twice the size of Texas, and with these recycled ocean plastic products that hold cannabis, it seems to be fixing a problem instead of creating more of a problem.
Well, I don't
So,
know
like,
if it's fixing the problem, but it's certainly like doing something about it.
yeah,
Although
it seems like it's going in the right direction.
sometimes I feel like these kind of ocean reclaim programs are another feel good thing, not to the same extent, but like it's allowing the plastic manufacturers sort of to, there was this push to manufacture less and less plastic, which I thought was maybe a good idea. And now if we keep these recycling programs going, it's like, oh, look, the ocean's clean. We could just dump a little more in now.
It's almost like a carbon offset sounds, like they can claim that, I don't know, that 40% of it's ocean plastic, then no one frowns upon that 60% regular plastic.
Interesting stuff, sir.
But I mean, with pre-rolls, it's kind of a pain in the butt because one of the only options for individual pre-rolls is just a big glass tube, and I mean, people will be smoking. Some will be smoking 2 of those a day, and some of them will end up on the sidewalk or just, I don't know, broken on the. I don't want them to end up in my dog's paw or kid's foot.
And I've also heard that some of those glass containers are being manufactured in China and are testing hot for heavy metals, so that when you grind them to recycle them, they test it again, and they're testing hot for heavy metals, which means it can't be made back into a new jar. So
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I know we couldn't find any compliant glass jars made in the U.S. So all of the ones we got, I admit they are from China because we couldn't find any alternative. Every single one of them.
And that does seem, I certainly appreciate the pickle the CCB is in the state, because like there aren't packaging companies here, but because of these sort of the rules that have been put in place, people are they have to go to these Chinese companies.
Yeah. There's a metal tin company even that at first I thought they were going to be an American company because they're based out of Massachusetts. They're called Safety Lock, really nice high-end products. But then I got to talking to the sales rep, and he said that all of them are made in China. So it seems like the deeper I dig, the more I realize it's just, I don't know, everything for packaging is coming out of China.
And you know what I saw? I saw some paper. I believe it was the Island Pond Cannabis guys up at this event I went to in Derby. They had paper jars, flower jars, and paper pre-roll tubes.
My concern with that would be the how fresh it would keep the product.
Sure. But I'd like to see that.
What's that? If it flew off the shelf, like if it only lasted at the retailers for like 24 or 48 hours, then that'd be great. But if you have an eighth or a quarter in a paper jar, I don't know, I just feel like it would have, the humidity and the moisture content in the flower would just go away, and it'd make it overly harsh.
This is a tricky one, huh?
Yes. I mean, I would like to give the Cannabis Control Board a lot of credit. I like the direction they're trying. But yeah, there's no easy solution to it, I guess. It's nice that they're trying.
There is no easy solution.
No.
Although, unless you're going to just let people walk into a dispensary and hold their hand out and say, "Hey, I'll have an eighth." Which I would totally do. I would walk into a dispensary, or like a pack of cigarette. Here, throw it in there. I'll bring it home in my jar. I don't care. Like I know people like to see the testing, and the kind of angry parents groups want to see all the warning labels, but I don't give a shit about any of that stuff, really.
Well, you can have that and bring in your own container, like we were talking about with, like, I don't know, a metal container, your own jar you bring in to slap on a fresh sticker. That would have all of the testing right on it.
Good point. How about the testing? Can we talk about that for a minute? Because that's been a big point of contention here. And quite frankly, I'm a little confused. I've watched the meetings, and I listened to Kerry's speech, and I I kind of felt more confused at the end than I did when I started.
Yeah, it seems like they have everything separated into batch or harvest lots and process lots. A harvest lot is everything that was grown under the same conditions, like same nutrients, same feed schedule, same IPM or pesticide management schedule. So basically, if you grow a crop that has one cultivar, you only have one harvest lot and one process lot. If you have a crop that's 7 cultivars like ours, we have one harvest lot, which is the whole crop because we treat it all the same, and then 7 process lots in addition to that. So for every harvest lot, you need, if you're an outdoor grower, you need heavy metals testing. If you grew on a former orchard, that's the one time you need the heavy metals testing. And then you do need the pesticide test for every harvest lot and pathogen test. But this is where I'm unclear. I think that maybe every process lot may have to have its own pathogen test. Bia Diagnostics told me that I can just do take a little bit of each cultivar and put it into a harvest lot, and then have it tested once for pathogens, which would be any kind of mold, which would be like aspergillus, powdery mildew, botrytis, anything like that. That kind of makes sense. I think that if that's what they're going, then it would be, there's no reason that wouldn't be effective. The only problem with that is if you have one that had any kinds of mold or mildew, the whole batch, the whole harvest lot would fail. Where if you were to get each cultivar tested separately for the pathogens, then if one of them had something in it and the rest didn't, then you'd end up with some passing and some not. So I guess that would be the risk, but for sure every process lot needs cannabinoid testing and some other testing too. I mean, they test for moisture content and some other stuff. I don't have the sheet pulled up in front of me, so I can't completely reference it. But in addition to that, we're doing terpene testing on all of our cultivars.
Is that required, or is that just something people do to show the customers?
It's not required whatsoever. I just think it's important for customers to have the information of the terpenes they'll be consuming, because it's more important than the sativa indica hybrid thing. Everything's more related to the terpenes, not just some broad category that really means nothing.
Yeah, it does. It's been interesting kind of watching that breakdown, because like the progression of it, like when we were kids, there was just, you get a bag of weed and it is whatever it is. And then you get the THC content, and now it's being broken down into this whole grid of cannabinoids. And it's just like, what the fuck happened here?
Yeah, exactly. Or get some hash like your dad used to bring.
Nice zinger there, buddy.
Yeah.
Good memory you got on you. You said there was some genetics that maybe you can't run because they test too high.
Yeah, I can't think of any offhand, but it's one concern that all cultivators should only normally be happy to encounter. It's a real weird thing. If you test over 30% THC, then it will fail testing. So I'm hoping that we have one called Ice Cream Candy that's one of the frostiest cultivars I've ever seen, and I might hit over 30, and normally that would be something to celebrate, but
right, yeah,
for months, yeah. Oh no, poor me, it was way too strong.
Is there something that happens at 30% THC content where you like turn into the Hulk if you smoke it or something? Like, why did they pick 30 as the cutoff? I really don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, well, because the legislature is some of the dumbest, most out of touch with the community group of people there is in the whole state.
That could be it.
I mean, you have that one person that I don't know, there's some half of the people that are running for office, I mean, not half, but there's a good amount of them that just, I don't know if they've ever worked a real job in their life. Like they went to college for politics and then maybe have some rich aunt in England or something that's royalty. And yeah, I mean, what is it, just a coronation for them, or do they, I don't know, what kind of life experiences do they have other than the books they read about politics?
And that is another tricky one, because most people that are business owners are busy owning businesses. They don't necessarily have the time to jump into politics and deal with all that shit because they're working.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find people with the experience in the business, especially this business. There's nobody in there with experience really.
Yeah.
And
Actually, years ago, I really didn't like Phil Scott when I was still working for the railroad, and he came to visit one day, and I was joking with a friend that I was going to kick him in the nutsack, but I didn't do that.
he came to
luckily.
your facility?
Not my grows when I worked for the railroad in St.
Hmm.
Albans. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, the more I hear about Phil Scott's policies and stuff, I mean, he seems okay. He's kind of more of a moderate than anything, but he was a business owner, so at least
I will
has
give him that.
going for him.
He does know about business. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
I'm not giving him much else. I thought he
Yeah,
really
I
held
was
this
mad at
bill
him
up.
back then. I was that was when he first shot down the recreational cannabis, so I was a bit bitter about that.
It was like when was it? 2017 maybe. They put together
Yeah,
the
that was
commission.
exactly when.
And he held this up like with that bullshit with the roadside testing. And I'll say this right now, that was bullshit. It's bullshit that they're gonna run people through the same DUI test as if somehow smoking weed and alcohol have similar effects. And he really harped on that a lot. And they were trying to they wanted to do saliva testing. And I just really was not impressed with any of that. We wanted the cops to leave us alone. It's legal now. Fuck off. Like, that was my personal take on it.
Well, I think one of his biggest donors was like the Vermont State Police Association, Phil Scott. So he was just echoing what they were trying to say. They're just trying to delay it. So we all know that there's no actual like test you can give someone other than a blood test to know how much THC is in their system. Like no breathalyzer.
Even if you know how much THC is in their system, so what? Like, what does that prove?
Yeah, everyone has a different tolerance. I mean, I know people that could eat 1,000 milligrams of edibles and be perfectly, you wouldn't notice a difference in their demeanor, but then some people eat 20 milligrams and then they just like need to take a nap or.
That's me.
Yeah, or maybe get the spins or something.
It's crazy with such a wide array of like alcohol affects people pretty much the same. Some people have to drink more, but like, it does seem like weed has such a wide array of effects. And, like some people for real, like I really don't know how you make I feel like it needs to be done on a case by case basis. Like this isn't the kind of thing where you could say, we're going to make it 0.5 nanograms per milliliter of your blood, and that's the limit. And that just seems like a foolish way to try to measure that thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Or impairment.
The human body has an endocannabinoid system. We don't have an endo-alcohol system. So yeah, everyone's endocannabinoid system can process cannabis differently, especially depending on.
What was interesting is that I've been watching back through some of these subcommittee meetings and listening to the Ingrid Jonas. She's retired Vermont State Police, I believe. She was in there on the public health and safety meeting. She had no idea that edibles could take a while to kick in. And it seemed like they really didn't know a lot about the effects of cannabis. And again, that seems concerning to me, to have people who don't understand the effects of it trying to enforce laws on people who do understand the effects of it.
Yeah, that's a problem, having people that aren't knowledgeable about it in any kind of a position to make the rules and regulations. And that is kind of how the Cannabis Control Board Advisory Committee was assembled. There seems to be a couple of police officers on there. Some public.
Nader Hashim is not a police officer anymore. He's running for Senate.
Now he's just trying to capitalize on making money on cannabis, I believe.
He did have a license in on the pre-qualification register.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sickening if someone who has arrested people for cannabis all of a sudden opens a dispensary or a retail location, starts making money on cannabis. I feel like they should get a lifetime ban on anything cannabis related if you've arrested someone for it.
I'm with you, dude. Honestly, I thought there should have been no law enforcement involved in the decision-making process here. Quite frankly, I think. Go ahead.
I saw a picture of this one legislature individual that was taking a picture down at one of the dispensaries in central Vermont. And it was one of the legislatures, I don't want to say their name, but she was part of the reason that there's all these THC caps. And all of a sudden she's shaking hands with the retailer that's selling cannabis. And I don't know. Seemed a little off to me.
It seemed like a bit of a political stunt.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. Everyone's trying to get their name out there. That was fucked up, man. I saw that too, and it's odd to. It would be nice if some of the other news outlets would maybe ask some of these questions to those people, you know. But instead, it's more like handshakes and smiles, and it's very superficial coverage, and you don't really get much of the actual stories.
Yeah, definitely. That's what you're gonna eventually be picking up, or
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd love to know, like, where did these ideas come from? Because I've never met anyone in my life. I've never even heard this phrase THC caps until like February or January. I'm like, what? That's not a thing. You know, and I read some old news articles about it in the Digger and 7 Days, and you know, it sounded like they argued about this for a while. It sounded like they were ready to drop the THC caps and then switched overnight and put them back in place, and you know, dumped it in the lap of Joe Benning and Dick Sears, who were both very concerned with that. They both didn't like it. Dick Sears said that you took it a week and a half and you come back to us with this. Like, you know, Joe Benning didn't like it. James Pepper said that this THC cap is handing a gift to the illicit market and allowing them to monopolize the concentrate. And so now we've got the leading Democrat, the leading Republican, the chairman of the board, and every single person trying to start a business in this industry in consensus. And these rules are still kind of just being jammed down your throats. And I thought that was bullshit as well.
yeah, definitely. It could have been worse though. The initial THC cap for flower was 14%, I believe, but
They were trying 15. Yeah, that was the Vermont Medical Society with Mark Levine from Department of Health.
Yeah. Oh man. Speaking of people that don't know what they're doing with cannabis.
Yeah, and that's, you know, it's hard to watch, you know, and I like doctors, respect, you know, you're a doctor, but like, just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you know about weed. You know, he was a doctor. Like when he got his medical license, probably was a different situation, you know?
Yeah.
Why don't they ever send in a doctor who has anything nice to say about it? At least like they always send, it seems like the most paranoid reefer madness guys.
Yeah. I don't know. The question, I guess, is who's picking these people?
Well, that was Phil Scott appointed him as the commissioner of Department of Labor.
Yeah, but he didn't specifically pick him to advise on the cannabis control board or cannabis advisory board. That may have been
that was from Department of Health. That through the legislation, Department of Health got to send a designee, and that was him.
Yeah,
he was also
I feel like there's kind of feel like the Department of Health is stacked with people that are against cannabis, possibly.
It does seem like they are odd, like, and I know right now it's about to be legal, so yeah, there's going to be some focus on it. But with all the other issues in Vermont, man, like I worry so much more about alcohol than weed. And the alcohol production is just ramping up. They're opening a new brewery, you know, every day there's one popping up somewhere. And, you know, they talked about not being able to advertise to kids, which I agree with. You shouldn't advertise weed to kids, but you go in a liquor store or a gas station even, there's fucking big neon signs with beer everywhere, wine, like, you know, what are your thoughts on that kind of disparity?
On the advertising, do you mean? Or
yeah, or like just the focus on weed as opposed to some of the, like, I think also opiates are a much bigger problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole thing blows my mind because I thought that at least half the population's pretty much completely okay with cannabis and has recognized that it has health benefits and that it's not as bad as alcohol.
Well, I don't know about health benefits. Let's be careful about making health claims, but honestly, I use it for depression and anxiety, and it stops me from wanting to strangle people. So that's as far as I'm concerned, that is a health benefit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know.
Mental health, really. It's like, yo, like maybe it's bad for my lungs, but like if it will slow down what's going on here, like I'll take it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering if it would be legal to put not that I'm interested in billboards, but could a Vermont cultivator put a billboard up in New Hampshire, New York, or Canada? Is that legal? I don't know. Not that billboard's the best thing, but yeah, I mean, why is it legal on, I think 99.9 The Buzz, I mean, all these radio channels, there's alcohol commercials left and right, but all of a sudden they don't want cannabis commercials. I think that there's some people that are so against it that just want to keep it just tucked away down there and as the bad redhead stepchild and just not let it get any kind of normalcy to it.
And I remember watching that meeting from Swanton that you showed me way back, that special meeting they held before the opt-in vote, and listening to some of those. I know one of those ladies was from the Community Coalition from Department of Health. I feel like a couple of them might have been, but you know, I saw you sitting in there with them, just trying to. You sound frustrated when you're trying to talk to these people.
Oh, it was terrible. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, at one point, this woman stood up and said that she thought that, I forget what her point was, but that she watched a TV about short people or something, and that one of them took too much synthetic THC and like started tripping or something, and she used that to base her opinion on cannabis. I forgot the name of the show, but yeah, there's some people that just
Seven Little Johnstons.
What's that?
Seven Little Johnstons.
Yep. So that is some people's basis of fact and science, is watching Seven Little Johnstons.
I was just talking about that lady because I talked to her. I got, you know, after you showed me that video, I got into that Swanton Facebook group and I talked to her a little bit. And it's honestly, I feel in a weird spot because I want to reach out and like, I want to help. It's like they grew up in that propaganda era. Like they were really like the first guinea pigs for the propaganda machine on drugs, you know? And I feel bad for them because that shit was just pumped into their heads for their whole lives. And it, you know, propaganda, they do that because it works. If you just keep hammering on it, eventually you will program someone. But at the same time, it's also like, kind of fuck them. Like I've tried so hard to like be reasonable, and it's frustrating because they want to be heard so badly. And I feel like most of the cannabis community has sat around and listened to their concerns. And when it comes time for the cannabis people to counter, they don't want to hear it. They're not interested in listening to any new ideas or even considering that they might be wrong about any of this stuff.
Yeah, they've already had their minds made up, and they've cherry picked certain data sets and studies that have proven very, very seldomly certain points that they want to make. And then whenever you rebut that with more widespread studies done on cannabis, they just don't want to have anything to do with the fact that it's the opposite of what their data set tells them.
Well, and quite frankly, this is pure speculation, but I don't think most of those motherfuckers read any of these studies. I think they read that Department of Health pamphlet, and I've heard them quoting the little blurbs on the back. You know, it's like you could tell that they haven't come up with these ideas on their own.
Yeah. Well, during that Swanton meeting, they sent some people from some treatment program or treatment service, and I don't know, if I had to guess, none of them have ever tried cannabis. They're just believing what they heard in the Reefer Madness movies and those pamphlets.
That's another one where a lot of these people, not only do they not know about cannabis, but they don't smoke it. Like they really have no frame of reference to eat. Like, how can you sit here and say, oh, it does this and this and this when you've never tried it?
Yeah, I mean, they were probably too scared by the DARE program to ever want to try it. Maybe they doubt they were college educated, because most people that have gone to college have tried cannabis and other drugs.
And even if you don't like, you know, I've met plenty of people who don't smoke weed. They don't care, but they're still willing to say, you know, live and let live, which I always love running into those people. You know, it's like, hey, cool, you get it. You know, this is a matter of personal choice and freedom. Like, if you don't like it, just don't do it.
Yeah, it doesn't affect you if other people are smoking cannabis in their backyard.
Cool. I'm getting towards the end there. That's about all I had for follow-ups here. Do you have anything, sir? Do you have any, has the banking been going? The insurance, is all of that shit smoothed out?
Yeah, the banking thing seems, well, since I last talked to you, we did have VSECU, but their rates, they wanted a certain percentage. I think it was like 1.5% of all of our deposits. So VFCU, Vermont Federal Credit Union, has since been opened up to cannabis businesses. So we switched to them, and our insurance broker also has given us a good rate for product liability insurance. So we're happy about that.
Now, VFCU for tier 1 indoor, that's only what, like $200 a month?
Yeah. Oh, and it appears as though, so the problem with VFCU, Vermont Federal Credit Union, is there's like a $500 application fee. But I just looked at my first bank statement, and the $500 is still in my checking account. So I don't know.
I had someone tell me yesterday actually that they were also not charged the application fee.
Yeah, it's still in my checking account. So I don't know if it was just a minimum deposit, but they worded it improperly, or I don't know, but it seems as though it wasn't a true fee.
Yeah, weird. A bank that's not going to take your extra money. Shit.
Well, they'll still be charging us the $100 to $200 a
Sure.
month, but yeah,
Sure.
the $500 fee was what most people didn't like.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, it seemed like what Vermont Federal did was looked at NEFQ's rates and just dropped it down in every category, really.
That's exactly what they did. It was great.
They just
Oh, and there's
straight up undercut those motherfuckers.
yeah, yeah, and then VSECU, they're just going to be left in the dust, and hopefully their merger with NEFCU doesn't work.
Well,
As soon as we
that's
have,
going through. That's going to happen. I'm pretty sure.
well, that's good news. Or not good news, but as soon as we can pay off our home loan, I'm going to be closing my New England Federal account because of that.
Yeah, I've thought about closing my VSECU account as well, just because, I've actually tried to get in touch with these banks repeatedly, and none of them will talk to me. And they've talked a lot about. It's funny, they'll on their website, they'll put it on Twitter, they'll quote one of their members. They're like, "Oh, look, we got a quote from our member. I'm very happy about the merger." It's like, well, I'm not. And we have questions.
Yeah.
Like, people want to know what's going to happen after this merger. Like, are you keeping the VSECU rate or the NEFCU rate? Or are you going to mash them together and like double them? Or are you going to mash them together and start over with something completely blank,
Yeah, they'll take the worst of both of them. It'll be like 1.5% cash deposits with their $300 a month tier one and $10,000. I don't know, what is it, $2,500 a month for a retailer. It's just crazy the amount of money they want to spend when they're then going to loan that money out to borrowers for a home like a home loan or an auto loan. They'll make investments with this money that we're depositing, but since we're a cannabis business, they want to charge us money when a normal business even like a liquor store, they probably don't charge them any extra fee for being, I don't know.
I don't believe they do. Yeah, let's not give them any ideas. Damn. They were like, "That's good, Nick. Yeah, we'll take the worst of both parts."
So where do you see this industry going in the next 2 to 5 years?
Well, that's a good question. It was interesting the other day with the kind of statement that Joe Biden gave about pardoning federal, whatever that bullshit was. That was a half measure. That pardoned. Nobody got out of jail. He said people shouldn't be in jail for weed. Nobody got out of jail on that move. That was a political move right before an election to try. That's all they got really for the Democrats. If we saw federal legalization happen tomorrow, I think it would be the worst thing to happen to the Vermont weed industry, and all the small growers that haven't had a chance to get their foot in the ground here. They're going to get crushed. I've always been a full legalizer. I thought all drugs should be legal, fully legal, until right now. And then I've been watching this market play out. And I mean, personally, I don't care about the retail market. I never cared about that. I wanted the cops to leave me alone. That's all I wanted out of legalization. But now, I have some friends that are in these companies, and they're good people, and I'd like to see them successful. And if federal legalization happens now, Ben and Jerry's will be shipping their fucking cheap Colorado mids out here. Is that you fucker? Yeah, as soon as they can start shipping that.
This is me, Banana Man.
As soon as they can start shipping that shit in here, it's gonna be hard for people that aren't well established already. And if Ben and Jerry's is listening, Ben Cohen, you snaky fuck, you should be supporting Vermont farmers. You sold us out already to Unilever. You guys fucked hundreds of dairy farmers already. Now you're gonna fucking bring in weed from Colorado.
Yeah, there was that article that he said that was his business plan, is to buy cheap Colorado weed and then sell it as his pre-rolls.
I think
then what was it at NECANN? He was giving out empty pre-roll tubes, just the packaging. I don't know.
You know what I'd like to see?
Hear him on your if you ever, I don't know. I think that he should be interviewed if you could ever get that.
I tried.
I know you'd love
to. I'd really like to see. There was something out in California. I can't remember the name of the bill, but somebody pushed it forward that would allow small cultivators, like someone like you. It would allow someone like you to sell your product over the lake in New York or down in Massachusetts or maybe up in Canada even. I don't know if international lines were involved with that, but for sure they wanted to allow basically small cultivators to engage in interstate commerce to help move their product. And I really thought that was a great idea.
I think that could help a lot. I was talking to my friend Levi Lilly with Rise, and I was asked, we're talking certain like tax things and just about how I was kind of scared that once the federal legalization happens, that we'll all just be eaten up by like Curaleaf and Trulieve. But he pointed out that like with good marketing, a good website, and it'll allow us to be all Vermont, like real, like the craft growers in Vermont. We could have our products sold in like, I don't know, to everyone's house in West Virginia, Texas.
Sure. That is the one thing I think really, like, if everyone could do it, including the government and pharmaceutical companies, that's a problem. But if you guys could do it, that would be amazing. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
It would help other people like enjoy our weed. Like you could send it to Cali, they'd be like, oh shit, we got this fucking Vermont weed.
Yeah, it'd be like the beer
awesome.
Thing, or
I could buy some Cali weed, you know? Awesome. That would be nice.
I know there's gonna be people that out in California that want to try Vermont weed, or people in Oregon, you know, like I don't know, just for the sake of remembering good times back in Vermont.
Right, or trying something that maybe you'd never get to try because you don't fucking go to Vermont.
Yeah, definitely. I could see like even a subscription service where there could be a business that buys different cannabis from all over the country for craft cultivators, and then every month you get a different shipment in of something from a different state and a different highlighted cultivator or manufacturer. That'd be pretty neat. So the federal legalization, if you don't adapt, it'll crush you. But if it never happens.
What I'm worried about is everybody else is very focused on the MSOs, hyper focused on the MSOs taking over and just crushing all the small guys. Personally, I think that's not the full picture. I think that's an intermediary sort of placeholder. What I'm worried about is that what happens when the MSOs start going broke? Who's coming in to buy those up? You know, that's going to be
Camel.
Pfizer. That's going to be Philip Morris, and
Unilever.
That's what I'm worried about is the mega corporation takeover. And then you get, because as soon as they get a hold of it, they'll lobby Congress and they'll get that federal legalization, and they'll send. I bet it'll just be fucking Amazon, DoorDash, fucking shitty mids to your front door. Like,
yeah.
And that is really what I don't want to see. And that's what I'm worried about. Yeah,
that would be the ultimate worst case scenario that has a very real outlook of happening in the future.
Yeah, I mean,
especially with how poorly Curaleaf, I believe, is going to be selling off their location in Vermont. That's not confirmed yet, but
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
I wish I could get confirmation. Those people are giving me dick tease. Like, what's happening? They're like, just keep your eye on it. I'm like, I don't know anything. Fill me in here.
Yeah, exactly. I know that they haven't, you can kind of read between the lines in some ways. They are allowed an integrated license and they haven't gotten it yet. So, I mean,
nobody has. Series, right? Series got one, but they were, I was expecting they would all get them. And now it seems like Curaleaf and Iantis have just not gone for it. And why would they? It's cheaper to buy all of them separately. From what Tim Fair told me.
Series was trying to get a second integrated license since they have 2 medical locations. They were really trying to push their luck there. They were told by the Cannabis Control Board that was a no-go. You can only have one per business.
Oh, I was also wondering that.
Yeah. It's only one. Yeah, it's one of any of the licenses available from the CCB. You can only have one of per business entity.
Except for labs. If you have an integrated license, you can open multiple testing labs.
Oh yeah, testing labs. You're right. I'm sorry. That's the one caveat, that you can have as many testing which is in the best interest of the state and everything for there to be a lot of them. Right now, there's some cultivators that have to drive 2.5 to 3 hours to bring their samples. Can't ship it in the mail because that's federally illegal. So people down in like the Brattleboro area, they have to go all the way up to the Chittenden.
That's going to be what's that? 6 hours round trip?
Yeah.
And the other labs are all in that same area. So even if they open some other labs, you know, like Steve Hill is in Colchester, you know, if they get one of these, there's one that's trying to open it in Williston. That seems like a big pain in the ass.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, it's also, I don't know, hopefully someone starts a business down south as a lab. That'd be great. There's some money to be had there. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But it's not a cheap thing. to start
is
up a
where I
lab,
thought
I
may-
can't imagine.
This is where I thought maybe the state should have stepped in. Okay, let's take one of your tax exempt fucking properties and we'll set up a testing lab so business owners don't have to drive, 6 hours every 3 months to go get their shit tested.
Yeah, during 2 meetings ago with Kari Jaguar, it was like the first meeting in October. He was talking about how down the line the CCB is going to have their own. They at least hope to have their own testing lab. But I'm not sure if that's for the sake of doing spot checks or spot tests or whatever, or if it's for the sake of actually helping the cannabis industry, helping with that bottleneck. Because right now it is 10 days, business days. We just, I think we have another like 8 regular days for us.
Yeah, definitely. They're backed up, and that it seemed like when their machines went down for a couple days there, that did not make it any better.
Yeah, definitely.
What else we got? Oh, the end of the list. End of the list.
Huh.
What would you like to see as the future of the market?
Um,
Where do you see it going, Nick Smith?
I already don't really like some things they've done. Issuing tier 5 licenses in Vermont should have never happened. Tier 3 is pretty much as big. I would have liked for it to be more craft, and like, I don't know, tier 3 is pretty big, and just having all tiers 1 through 3 would have been a lot better than having tiers 4 and 5 involved whatsoever. It'd be great to see cultivators and retailers working collaboratively with each other, and we're already trying to start that with cultivators, just sharing knowledge and helping each other out, and manufacturers will all be part of that as well. So for it to be a real tight-knit group of entrepreneurs in the state, and other than cutting each other's throat and getting a race to the bottom, just help each other survive and thrive, that's where I'd like to see the market go.
And let's talk about prices for a minute, because this is something we've chatted a lot about. And it's a very interesting situation right now because, if there was, I don't know, there was such a limited selection of flower on opening day that it seemed like growers would have the upper hand in the price negotiations there. However, there was such a select number of retailers as well. It's like, okay, that it kind of balances out a little bit, but it does seem, after legalization, there's obviously this point where there's a glut of weed and then the price just starts to drop, or maybe it'll go up for a little bit and then level out. Where would you like to see, how much would you like to get for a nice pound of, in an ideal world, how much would you sell a pound of your high shelf flower for to a retailer?
Probably somewhere, well, depending on, to make it fair for everyone, I think it'd be better to talk just percentages.
Sure,
so
yeah,
if a
yeah.
retailer sells it for $50, I think the cultivator should get 25 of that. If the retailer ends up selling for $30, then I feel that it would only be fair if the cultivator got $15 of that. So as supply catches up with demand, the price will go down for cultivators, but then it will be up to the retailers to actually adjust their prices. States like California and Washington, there's retailers are still selling really high-end eighths for $50 to $70 even for the really high-end stuff.
Really?
Average, it's over 40 still for quality indoor flower. So, but then the only thing that's changed in states that have been legal for a long time and their supply has caught up with the demand is the retailers are now just making more money. So I don't know, I think it should just be a percentage thing. So if we want to talk about lowering the price, then I don't think it should be just up to the cultivator to be taking less profit. It should be both the cultivator and the retailer both equally taking less profit.
Right. There's got to be a way for it to work for everybody.
Yeah.
And especially like, I just feel like, and I know people don't want to pay a shitload of money for outdoor, but like a lot of time goes into that. Those dudes work their asses off, and there's got to be a way to sell that product where everybody can like kind of reap the rewards.
Yeah, definitely. It seems as though right now maybe outdoor flower is like almost the same exact price as indoor flower at some locations, which is okay. I mean, there's some really good outdoor flower out there. It should all be dependent on quality though. If you have really terrible indoor, it should be lower than the price of outdoor flower.
Speaking of really terrible indoor, what about, didn't you say, what was I going to ask you? Oh, I wanted to ask you about the series again. didn't you say that guy reached out to you and asked you, like, because they said they're going to be working with some of the best growers in Vermont, and boy, that flower is just like 15-16%. Didn't look spectacular, and I don't want
Yeah.
to shit on them too much because it's opening day and everybody's struggling to get product, but I was not super impressed with that at all. I mean, if you put your weed next to their weed, they're never going to sell another bag of that weed again.
Yeah. I mean, I find the name kind of funny. They use the word collaborative in there, but I don't know any self-respecting cultivators that would sell to them.
It does seem like that's the general consent. Although I talked to Russ on the phone, he was a super nice guy.
He's a very nice guy.
It was awkward. He was nervous, but like I appreciated that he reached out. He's like, I don't know what you want to get out of this. It's like, well, dude, I'm doing the story. Like, you guys are part of the story. Like,
yeah, I mean, if they really want to like buy flower from, even if they gave the right price, it would still be one of those things. I don't know anyone that would go there. There's so many other options for retailers that are actually like Vermont-owned companies, not out-of-country entities. So every purchase with the person we're talking about, I don't want to get sued, money goes out of our state into another country. So all of that profit doesn't stay in the state. Whereas another example, you buy cannabis from Cambridge Cannabis Company or any of the retailers that will be carrying our products, all of that money will be staying in our state, in our country. We don't really need it.
That was a great point. That was one I missed in my notes. That is one we talked about, and I'm glad you touched on that because I don't know a lot about how money flows or what kind of tax breaks you get for sending it here or there. But it's, if all the industries and businesses in Vermont are owned by out-of-state companies, that money's just leaving, and it's making the situation worse.
Yeah, I mean, there's a MSO that's located in Vermont that they're centralized in Idaho. I don't know. You can say the name if you'd like, and they're a cultivator.
Oh, I don't know. I know we got Satori.
Yeah.
Satori? I thought they were from California.
No, Idaho.
Okay.
So any money they make will be going to Idaho to pay profit or all their stockholders, or if they have stocks. Either way, it's going out of our state. We don't need that.
And nothing against those guys. I met Scott. He was super nice to me. He bought me lunch and shit. We hung out after NECANN. But I was certainly one of those guys. And not to harp on the board here, but I was a little disappointed to listen to that victory lap a couple of weeks ago where they said, "Oh, this has been done so equitably and more efficiently than I think James Pepper said it's like one of those sports records that'll never be broken." And I don't think this is. Look, no disrespect to James. I like James, man, but like this is not Wayne Gretzky stuff here. And while I was listening to that meeting, I had multiple people texting me talking about how close they are to bankruptcy. My dude said he's going to be fucking divorced next week if he doesn't get a license, so watching that from both ends is, over here, these guys is, they're like, oh, we did it. We did a great job. It's just gone smoother than any other state. And over here, this guy is like ready to cry and he's just losing his shirt before he even has time to open the doors on his business,
Yeah, I mean, may have been a little premature to be congratulating themselves, but I know that it's not true that what like James says in every single meeting, that if you email them that they'll respond within 24 to 72 hours. That's absolutely 100% incorrect. Whenever I email them, they don't respond absolutely ever. There's not a response, not 24 hours, not 1,000 hours later. They don't respond to their emails. So I wouldn't be congratulating myself too soon because there's people that have had mental breakdowns trying to get their licenses in Vermont, and a little more communication would have been great, or at least don't tell people that we'll respond within 24 to 72 hours. That is not true.
And I've heard, and no offense to Kerry either, but I've heard people talking about having a hard time getting him on the phone as well. My guy said he waited 4 or 5 weeks to get a call back, like that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't had to contact him yet, but we had our site visit. It was Mike DiMattosa. He was an awesome guy, and we have his phone number
Tommaso, I believe.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm sorry, Mike, if you're listening. Yeah, Mike's a really good guy, and I don't know. Luckily, you figure out different contacts around the general email system for the CCB, it becomes better. There's a lot of
Sure.
really good people in the
Yeah.
CCB, including the chair, Pepper and
Sure, yeah.
Harris
And
and Julie Hultberg. But it's just some of the things they say are completely inaccurate.
and they, I know they're dealing with a lot of logistical challenges, and I know they didn't have the staff off the bat, and that really held shit up. And that's out of their hands. But for sure, like, I don't know. If I was them,
the CCB is awesome. Caroline Bowen was really helpful to us. She's no longer with them. She's moved on to a different spot. And yeah, I mean, everyone we've talked to with the CCB, when we finally do talk to them, have been incredibly helpful and
Sure,
nice.
yeah.
But it's just to get that contact is the hard part with them. And when you're waiting on, you don't even know what, it can be painful. And I don't know, like, I know a couple of retailers that, I don't know, just watching their Instagrams, it seemed like they were about ready to lose it. I wanted to go up there with a warm cup of tea for them just to comfort them. But
for real, I was like, do you want a hug, bro? You can come over. We can smoke a joint or something. Like,
yeah,
please, like, don't jump off a bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
The stress, like, man, it's stressful for me watching you guys because, boy, it's really just, and one guy did get divorced out here, like, this really has just been a grind, and it's taken a lot out of people. And I thought maybe a moment of, like, I don't know, maybe not a good time to pat yourself on the back, man, when people are out here hurting still.
Yeah, I was like practically ready to have a mental breakdown at one point.
Yeah, it's like, let's get all those,
my status to change.
Yeah, it's like, let's get all these people taken care of, and then we can go out for drinks, dude. We can all clinkies, and I'll go with you. I'll buy drinks, but, like, take care of those fucking people. If you're congratulating yourself and I'm on the phone with a dude who's about to cry, something is going wrong. You should be talking to him, you should be talking to that guy right now and helping him figure it out.
Yeah. Oh, there was a couple of Cannabis Control Board meetings ago where a woman called in and you could tell she was on the brink and she just spilled her heart out. And it almost made me want to cry hearing her story about how she's just been waiting and just no communication. Yeah, you look at the board and it looked like she actually struck a note with the board. And I don't know. I hope she got her license this week. I didn't know her business name, but I don't know.
You should send her over to me.
Yeah.
I missed that.
We'll have to rewatch that. Is in the public comments.
Yeah. Although I do gotta say, all in all, I thought the board has made a lot of decisions that I thought were good decisions. A lot of those have not come recently, but leading up to this, they have made a lot of decisions that I thought were the right move.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things they've been doing are 100% right, and they'll help with the longevity of this industry. And they have been taking their time just to do it right and really dot their I's and cross their T's. And I think in the long run, it's all for the best. But they weren't given enough staffing for sure.
That was dumb. Yeah, that was just ridiculous. The fact that those people weren't already hired by like January, it's just kind of makes me feel like the legislature didn't want this to work.
Yeah, definitely.
If they did, they would have staffed it properly.
Yeah, exactly.
The
one thing that was good, they did take the CCB. I don't know why they took that. Was it 2 or 3 week break in the middle of summer
in August? That was August. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's kind of bad timing. I get that they vacation, but it just seemed like there was a lot of people still waiting for their license. That just left them high and dry. But
I also thought that was not a great look.
I didn't like the timing. We were already licensed. I just felt bad for the people that were still waiting.
Word up for having compassion for others, Nick.
Well, if you're watching this, go to www.metric.com.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that guy.
I'm kidding. I'm kind of sick of people or one person saying that in public comment. So don't go to metric.com and let's not use Metric. Metric is a hot pile of
how come you guys haven't even looked into Metric yet? Come on. Yeah. It's like right there. They have a very good website. That guy was fucking obnoxious.
I start wondering if that person is maybe paid by Metric. But no, it looked like the CCB did do this very differently, and I get solicitors all day long for insurance, for accounting, for security, grow lights, you name it. And I mean, it's nice that we don't have to pay like Metric or other seed to sale tracking companies where just in tags alone it could cost a cultivator thousands of dollars a year. So the Vermont CCB thought outside the box, props to whoever came up with it. It was probably
Yeah,
all
that
of them,
portal.
Pepper
They
and
put together
Lewis.
that portal there.
Yeah, it's still not perfect. We did our first set of data entry for the seed to sale tracking. It'd be nice if there was more like drop downs, like is this harvest lot mom plants? Because since you never harvest moms, like we're like, well, is it even ever going to be a harvest lot? It's not going to flower. So I mean, I think they're working through a bunch of kinks, and they've even said that it's not the final version, but it was free and it wasn't that bad, and that's huge for starting a business on like without big investors. So for Vermont, I think they did the perfect thing there.
And I agree. It's nice that they did one thing to save you money at the end.
Yeah.
You know, after all the drops in the bucket, they took a drop out. So, but also I did hear them say that this is not the final iteration of it, which I was wondering if that meant we're going to beef up this system that we're creating on our own, or we're using this as a placeholder before we get a contract with a third party.
They are contracting with a third party that will look at all of the data and look for anomalies to make sure that cultivators and retailers aren't slipping anything out the back door or anything. So that's the third party that they're going to be contracting with. I have no idea who it is. I'm not an insider on the CCB.
I know. I'd like to know.
Yeah, I would like to know too. But if it doesn't cost the cultivator or retailer any money for it, it'd be, I don't know. It's nice to just have it as a service that we can use.
Why do you need a
subscription?
You don't need a whole other business to run that. That could be a database on the state website and bang.
Yeah, Metric would not help the Vermont industry be any cleaner or safer or more compliant. It just will take more profits from Vermont businesses. That's all
my dude
sale people will do. Forbin's?
My dude at Forbin's, word up, Nick, he said that I asked him about this way back when I first met with him in like March or April. And he said that kind of RFID chip, those RFID tech, whatever it is, he said that would probably cost him like $7 or $8 grand a year.
Yeah, that's $7-8 grand that he could be putting into all sorts of other things. Like,
although to be fair, I want to be fair. Nick said he was actually in favor of this kind of thing for certain reasons, which I can't recall. But he said he wouldn't actually mind paying that. So I thought that was interesting as well, you know. But I kind of like the free. I always like free better than $8,000.
I like effective, and it is effective enough, and it's free. Effective is the number one thing.
Right, like we don't need a business. We don't need a business to make money off this. We just need the state to be able to track bad lots back and make sure no one gets sick.
Exactly. Yeah, they just need to make sure that everything I harvest is then being packaged and sold to retailers. And with the different data sets that they've asked of us, it should be effective. And I like that they don't make us weigh our plant mass wet either. So basically we harvest, document how many plants of each cultivar we harvest, and then we dry it and then trim it. Then what you do is you weigh each cultivar, how much dry weight it is. You weigh how much trim there is of each one, and then any waste product like stem. And I think they even went as far as to say that stem weight would be helpful but not necessary, which is awesome because it's kind of pointless weighing stems. That was Carrie Jaguar that said that stem weight would be helpful but not necessary. So, I mean, we've been saving our stems throughout the trimming process. We're starting to get a lot of them. We have like 2-3 full like garbage bags full of just stems we've cut up into little pieces, but I don't really see how it could help anything to weighing them.
There's a guy in Vermont who makes wooden pipes or something out of all the stems. I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah.
Oh, you could make little whistles out of them too, probably. Like I used to make in Boy Scouts.
Little rape whistle.
All
right.
What the stems are great for is just kindling, though. I mean, throughout all my years of growing, I mean, most of the time when I harvest, I just burn the stems as a fire starter. They're so dry by the time we're done drying the weed.
Nice, little tinder. Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect tinder. And it even smells a little bit like cannabis when you burn it.
All right, Nick, I'm out of shit, man. Thanks for your time. Listen, I always leave the last word for my guests, as you know. Good luck with everything. Your grow, boy, the new grow coming up, that look beautiful. Everything's it looks perfect. It's like really clean, really, your room is really tidy, well organized, nicely scrogged.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Last words, all you, buddy. Take it away. Thanks again.
Yeah, I appreciate everything you do for the cannabis community, and you bring on some really good guests. and
Obviously.
it's always No, I'm one of the not so good guests. But yeah.
You're gonna be my regular correspondent here. Anyway, I don't want to interrupt
There we
your last
go.
word.
Yeah, it was great to talk to you, Caleb. Thank you for everything.
Cool.
Take care.
Peace, man.
Bye.
Beautiful.